Welcome once again, my friends, and thank you for stopping by to listen to an old storyteller. Today we have a story from the Roman Empire, and the title of this story is The Proud Seneschal. There once lived in the palace of a great Roman emperor many years ago a seneschal who was very proud and hard-hearted and cared for no one but himself. To the poor he was especially unkind. Not very far from the emperor's palace was a great forest, and in this forest were all kinds of wild animals. The seneschal, whose name was Fulgentius, had pits dug in this forest, and had them covered with boughs and leaves in order to catch wild beasts as they roamed about. And one day he was riding in the forest, and as he rode, he said to himself, "Surely there is no person in the whole empire more great and powerful than I am." And while he was thinking this very proud and foolish thought, not looking in the least where he was going, he rode over one of the pits which he himself had ordered to be made, and fell into it with his horse. Inside the pit were three creatures which had fallen in that same morning: a lion, a monkey, and a snake. Fulgentius was very frightened when he found this out, as you can well imagine, and he yelled as hard as he could, hoping to make someone hear, so that he could be pulled out from the pit, for it was quite impossible to climb out. Now, there happened to be in the forest a poor man called Guido. He earned his living by collecting firewood and selling it in the town, and he had a donkey, which used to carry the loads of firewood home for him. He was not very far away. He heard Fulgentius's call and ran quickly in the direction from which it came, to see what was the matter, for he had no doubt that something very alarming had happened. Still directed by the noise, he soon came to the top of the pit. It was a deep one, and he could see very little as he peered cautiously over the edge. But Fulgentius could see his head from below, and called out to him that he was down there with a lion, a monkey, and a snake. "Quick, quick, get me out!" he cried. "I am a rich man, and will make it well worth your while." "Good sir," said Guido, "I should be glad to help you, but it will take some time, as I shall have to go to the city for a rope. I cannot get you out unless I have one, and if I spend the greater part of the day in doing this, I shall not be able to collect any wood to sell, and if I cannot collect any wood, my wife and I will have nothing to eat." "But if you do this, I will make you a rich man," said Fulgentius. "You will no longer need to collect firewood for a living. Only be quick, I beg you." So Guido went off to the city as fast as he could, leaving his donkey tied to a tree some little way off. He borrowed a stout rope and came back again, still in great haste, for he felt sorry for the poor man in the pit and knew he must be having a very anxious time. He let the rope down into the pit and told Fulgentius to tie it firmly round his waist. But before he had time to do so, the lion leapt forward and managed, with the help of the rope which Guido was pulling from the top, to scramble up out of the pit. He ran off joyously into the forest. Guido let down the rope again. This time the monkey, who had, of course, seen the lion's escape, jumped over Fulgentius's head, gave the rope a shake, which is the signal for the person at the top to start pulling, and was very soon up. He never waited to say thank you, but danced away to the forest and back to his home in the treetops. Once more the rope was let down. This time the snake quickly twined itself round it, and was drawn up like the others, and glided swiftly away into the depths of the forest. "Now that the beasts are all gone," called Fulgentius, "you can pull me out, my good man. Quick, quick, I beg you. I am almost dead with anxiety." He was soon pulled out, and the two men together managed to pull out his horse as well, so the old tale says. But I think it sounds a very unlikely story, for a horse is a heavy creature, and not nearly so nimble in the matter of climbing as a monkey, a snake, or even a lion. That's as it may be. At any rate, the story says that the proud seneschal mounted his horse and rode back at once to the palace. Guido went back to his home. The best part of the day had gone, and he had no firewood, but he felt that it mattered not at all, as the rich man whom he had helped had promised him great wealth. His wife saw him coming, and was very worried when she saw that there was no firewood on the donkey's back. But when he told her what had happened, and how he was to be rewarded with great riches, her spirits soon revived. She had a little food in the house, and a tiny sum of money put by, and they had quite a little feast to celebrate Guido's good luck. The next morning she saw her husband off to the emperor's palace. But when he arrived there and inquired for Fulgentius the seneschal, Fulgentius said he knew nothing about the man, that his story was pure fabrication, and ordered that he should be well whipped for his impudence. The porter carried out the order and gave him such a severe whipping that poor Guido was half dead when it was over. Some kind person employed in the palace who knew Guido sent a message to his wife to tell her of all this, and as soon as she heard the bad news, she saddled the donkey and managed to get Guido home on it, for he was quite unable to walk. He was ill for some time, and their tiny store of money was all spent, but as soon as he was well again, he went back to his wood gathering. The very first day he entered the forest, he saw in the distance, coming along the path, 10 donkeys with packs on their backs. Walking by the side of the last one was a lion, and when he took a good look at the lion, he was sure that it was the same one that he had pulled out of the pit. The lion made him understand, by waving his paw about, that he was to lead the donkeys to his own dwelling. Guido obeyed him, and when he reached home, still accompanied by the lion, it fawned upon him, wagged its tail as if very pleased, and went leaping back into the forest. Guido was very puzzled by all this, and caused a notice to be put up in various public places that if anyone had lost some donkeys, they should come to him and claim them. But no one came, and so after a short time he opened the parcels with which the donkeys were loaded, and found that they were full of money. The next day he went into the forest again, but forgot to take with him the axe with which he chopped up the wood that he collected. Suddenly, as he stood wondering what to do next, he felt a slight pull on his coat at the back. He turned round quickly, and there was the monkey which he had helped out of the pit. With his teeth and claws, the monkey worked hard to help him break up the wood, so that by the evening he had a good load to take home. The next day he went to the forest again, and as he was sitting down preparing his tools before he went to work, he saw gliding towards him the big snake with which he had also helped out of the pit, and in its mouth it held a stone of 3 colors, white, black, and red. It opened its mouth and dropped the stone at Guido's feet. Then, as swiftly and softly as it had come, it glided back again into the undergrowth. Guido took the stone home with him and showed it to a man who had great knowledge of precious stones. Not only is this stone valuable on account of its beauty, he said, but it is the kind of thing that brings great good fortune to its possessor. He offered Guido a big price for the stone, but Guido refused. He had had quite a nice sum of money from the lion, and he thought it would be foolish to sell a stone which was to bring him good luck. The story of the wonderful stone quickly got about, and soon reached the ears of the emperor, who sent a message to Guido to say that he wished to see it. So Guido went again to the palace, and was admitted to the presence of the emperor without any trouble. "I hear you are the possessor of a very marvelous stone," said the emperor. "I will pay you whatever you ask for it, but if you refuse to let me have it, I shall banish you from my kingdom." This seemed rather too bad, but emperors are very powerful people, and in those days they were accustomed to having their own way in all things. Poor Guido had no choice, so he suggested a sum of money about double what the stone merchant had offered him. "That I will pay you gladly," said the emperor, "if the stone is indeed as wonderful as I have been told." So Guido took it from a little ivory box in which he kept it, and put it into the hand of the emperor. The emperor turned it round and round between his fingers, full of admiration for such a beautiful jewel. "Tell me," he said, "how a man in your position, for I hear you are a woodcutter, came to have such a wonderful jewel." Whereupon Guido told the whole story of the accident at the pit, and how he had helped Fulgentius out, and what had happened when he came before to the palace in order to claim his reward, and the truly marvelous way in which he had been helped by the grateful lion, the monkey, and the snake. The emperor listened to him open-eyed. This was indeed a wonderful tale. But he was angry, too, to think that the man had been so shockingly treated by a member of his own court retinue. He sent for Fulgentius. When Fulgentius saw Guido standing before the emperor, his knees began to shake. And well they might. "What tale is this I hear of you?" said the emperor. "I can scarcely believe my ears." Fulgentius began to stammer out something about the man not speaking the truth. "Your own guilty appearance would be sufficient to tell me who is speaking the truth," said the emperor. "But in any case, I have here in my own hands what is quite enough proof of Guido's story. I have no words in which to express what I think of you. It is a matter of shame for all men that one man should have shown less gratitude than the wild beasts of the forest. You are not fit to hold any post, or to have any honors or wealth. Indeed, I do not think you are fit to live." The emperor thereupon declared that all Fulgentius's honors were to be taken from him and given to Guido. He would even have had him put to death, but Guido pleaded for him, so he was banished from the kingdom instead. All the noblemen of the country were much pleased to hear this, and of course Guido's own friends, to say nothing of his good wife, were delighted. He lived many years, and remained to the end kind and honest, as he had always been. But though he rode and walked many times in the forest, he never saw again the lion, the monkey, or the snake.
Thank you once again for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please press that like button. Also, please help an old storyteller out by subscribing to my channel. The next story will be posted in a few days, so until then, may your story continue to be a good one.